Hi friends, welcome to Raku's video series. In this particular video, I'll be discussing the SNAP exam. I'll give you exactly what is asked in the exam, the test format, everything, and I'll tell you how to actually use this course so that you maximize all your preparation before the SNAP exam. So let's get started. So let me first take you through the exam format. So the exam is on the easier side. If you're somebody who's preparing for OMITs, this exam is less complicated, less tougher than CAT. It is, so basically there are 60 questions and 60 minutes. So you might think this is much more difficult. In CAT you have like fewer questions and more time as such. But the thing is that CAT has more difficult questions. The questions over here are much easier, but you have to be very fast in solving. That's the only thing. So over here, remember, the question paper is much easier. It is much simpler, but you have to have a lot of speed as such. So if you're somebody who is naturally a fast solver, this would be to your advantage. Over here, there are 4 options. You have to mark the correct one. There's +1 for the correct answer, minus 0.25 for the incorrect answer. The 60 questions, I'll tell you the split between the 60 questions. So there is general English. They named the section reading comprehension, verbal reasoning and verbal ability, and there are 15 questions from it. But they have not given any RC for the last 2 years. We expect them not to give any RC this year also, but we'll wait for the notification as such. If they actually mention reading comprehension, we'll have to update this. But as far as what has happened in the last few years, there has been no reading comprehension, even though the name of the section is RC, VA, VR and VA. There hasn't been any reading comprehension. The second section is analytical reasoning and logical reasoning. Remember, in general English section, generally the questions are vocabulary based or grammar based, and they're very quick to solve. So all these 60 questions, it's not like you have to solve one question per minute, because many of these questions are going to be solved in like 20-30 seconds. Many of the analytical reasoning questions also can be solved easily. The questions that will take more time are the harder questions of analytical and logical reasoning and the quant questions as such. So there you have to essentially see that, okay, I have to save up time from general English and analytical reasoning and logical reasoning and try to use that in quantitative section as such. You can switch between the sections. There is no sectional time limit, okay. So the analytical and logical reasoning, I'll tell you exactly what is there in each section so that you can get an understanding, and the course will cover the entire syllabus thoroughly, so you need not worry. If you follow the course, you will have full coverage of the portion as such. And quantitative aptitude, data interpretation and data sufficiency questions are there. We'll be going through all of them. So let us get through the firstly, I'll just cover the eligibility in quickly. So the eligibility is same as that of most OMIT exams. You need a minimum 3 years bachelor's degree. Those who are appearing for their final year exams are allowed to appear for the exam, and you have to get a provisional certificate before you take the admission. The general category students, you need 50% aggregate in graduation. This requirement is relaxed for those who are in SC and ST category and even in the PWD category. There is no age limit for entrance. So if you are somebody who is very fast in solving and you need if you are somebody who does not test well. So for example, there are a lot of students who are able to solve, but in a test they are very under the pressure, under the exam pressure, they kind of tend to crumble. Or those who are good at solving quickly but are find reading comprehension difficult, or find difficult questions from quant and DIL are difficult to do. This might be the exam for you, because firstly you get multiple chances. So if you are somebody who does not respond to pressure or generally does not have a good day under pressure, you can book multiple slots and then you will be under less pressure as such. And over here the questions are not that difficult, so again that would be to an advantage. There is no reading comprehension, especially not at the level of CAT, so again that would be to your advantage. So if you are somebody like that, this exam might be the right one for you. Now let's take a look at each section as such. So over here you have analytical and logical reasoning section. So essentially I have split it up into the type of reasoning that is required, or what type of reasoning you need to do to answer the question. So critical reasoning questions, so basically of the 25 questions that are there over here, critical reasoning is about, I think, 10 questions, and logical reasoning, quantitative reasoning is about 15 questions. So critical reasoning questions generally are, okay, these are the statements, which of the following statements can be concluded from the statements. So you'll be given statement 1 and conclusion 1, conclusion 2. So you would say, okay, conclusion 1 is valid, but conclusion 2 is not valid. Then you have cause and effect. So if you'll be given 2 statements, is like this the cause and effect, or this is effect, this is cause, you have to essentially answer to that. then you have to say, okay, if this is the situation, what would be the right course of action to take? They're slightly, some of them are critical reasoning, some of them are decision making oriented. So if you have given that, you have some experience of decision making. Some of them are like that. There's like in the last year there was a clear decision making question also. So if you have given that, that would be to an advantage. If you're starting your preparation, we'll be adding those decision making videos here also, so that you get the idea of what decision making in that looks like. Okay, but the other critical reasoning questions are there: strengthen the argument, weaken the argument, all of them are there. Identify the implicit statement. It's asked identify which statement is implicit, but it is essentially asking which of the statements is an assumption being made in the original statement. Then you have decision making, as I mentioned. So these are all critical reasoning aspects. If you have done critical reasoning, identifying assumptions, identifying conclusions, identify course of action, all of that should be fairly simple. Strengthen, weaken. The difficulty will not be as difficult as critical reasoning in, say, GMAT or CAT. It would be easier, but again, you have to have an understanding of critical reasoning. If you have an understanding of critical reasoning, these are easy to do. The second part is logical reasoning. So essentially what I would suggest is that here your accuracy would not be great, because this is again critical reasoning. Critical reasoning, some people can agree, some people can disagree. It is a bit subjective. So most of your scoring will come from this area, which is the logical and quantitative reasoning. So logical reasoning is blood relations, arrangements, sometimes circular arrangements come, truth teller, liar arrangements come. Alphanumeric series. Alphanumeric series means it's a letter series and you have to guess the next alphanumeric term in the series and all. Blood relations come. All of these are essentially input-output comes. These are very basic reasoning questions. They come a lot in banking exams. If you have experience of banking exams, you know exactly what input-output means, what coding decoding means. They are simple reasoning questions. With a little bit of practice, you'll be able to do them very easily. We'll be covering all of them in the course. Quantitative reasoning, sometimes these are slightly time consuming because there are questions on clocks and calendars. They take time to solve. Clocks and calendars require like 2-3 minutes to solve as such. Number analogy, if you get the number analogy quickly, you will get it. If not, you will have to consider all the various combinations and all, and that would take time. Similarly, number series and syllogisms. Syllogisms is fairly easy, it would not take time, but number series can take time at times. At times it can take time, at times you can get the answer very quickly. So this will take some time, but your accuracy will be high. This will take lesser time and your accuracy will be high. This will take lesser time, but your accuracy will be slightly low in that part. Okay. Now we're coming to general English. So general English, as I mentioned, the name of the section is reading comprehension, verbal reasoning and verbal ability. But for the last 2 years, there has been no reading comprehension. But what has come in its place is a lot of verbal ability has come. A lot of verbal reasoning also is not coming. It's basically just verbal ability. They are testing your grammar skills. They are testing your vocabulary skills. Those are the two things that are most tested over here. So the most common type of question that is asked is fill in the blanks, and fill in the blanks is a test of vocabulary also, which is the right word to fit there. And it is a test of your grammar skills also. So you have to identify what would be the correct tense of the word to fit in a particular sentence. You would have to identify what would be the correct adjective or adverb for that particular blank. You would have to identify which of the two commonly confused words actually fits in the blank. All of those kind of things comes in fill in the blanks. So it's both a test of vocabulary and grammar and sentence correction. Now grammar and sentence correction, I mentioned, it comes as part of fill in the blanks. It often comes separately as identifying the error in the sentence, which part of the sentence has an error, or it comes as identifying the tense of the sentence. This sentence is in past perfect form. This sentence is in present continuous form. So all of those also come. You have to convert direct speech to indirect speech to direct speech, active voice to passive voice to active voice. All of these questions, which are like basic questions on grammar, come often. One of the things that actually comes is parts of speech. Parts of speech comes as parts of many questions as such. So it comes, so when I mentioned this poem, right? So the poem question also involves parts of speech. Which of the following lines does not have an object or does not have a subject? So you have to understand what is the subject, what is an object. Parts of speech also comes that, okay, this line in the poem employs which which of these is the part of speech of the underlined portion. So it's an adjective, it's a adverb. There is also figures of speech. Basically, what is the figures of speech employed in this part of the poem? So all of this basically, in this particular part, there's a mixture of where things come, but the concepts that are tested are vocabulary concepts and grammar and sentence correction concepts. And parts of speech particularly comes in many ways as such. It is a very important topic and we'll be covering it in detail. Active passive voice, one question comes. Direct indirect speech, one question comes. Okay. Vocabulary, you need to know like the synonyms, antonyms, correct spelling. So you will be asked which of the following words is correctly spelled, and you have to identify which is correctly spelled and which are incorrectly spelled. You have to identify which word is a prefix word, which word is a suffix word. This in fact is super easy. It's incredibly easy, and it's like one of the questions that you can solve in like 10 seconds. Similar with compound words. So what is prefix word? What is suffix word? So basically you have to identify which word is a suffix word. So if I say briefly, okay, is this a suffix word or not? It is a suffix word, because if I remove ly, brief is a proper English word. So if it is a proper English word, it is a suffix word. But on the other hand, if you have truly, if I remove ly, true is not a complete word as such. So it's not a suffix word as such. So these are the simple things that you need to know to solve all of these questions, and I will be covering them. You need not worry. But what I want you to understand is that in this particular section, there will be easy sitters, easy questions you can do in 5-10 seconds, so that you save time over here, so that you can spend more time in quant and the analytical reasoning section. There are questions on idioms and phrases, questions on proverbs. Idioms can come as part of filling the blanks. It can come as part of completing the sentence. It can come as part of error detection. So idiom would be incorrectly used, and you have to identify that as error. So proverbs can come as part of a separate question where you ask which of the following scenario closely resembles the given proverb as such. So basically you can say that, say the proverb is a stitch in time saves 9, and you are asked which of the following sequences or following situations is similar to the proverb mentioned. So you can have a situation, for example, that you make sure that the maintenance of your machinery is done regularly, and if you maintain the machinery regularly, it will break down fewer times, and that essentially means that you save on time by doing that. So that situation is similar to the given proverb that a stitch in time saves 9. So essentially simple questions like this will come, which you have to essentially solve quickly, so that you can move on and do other things with that time, because 60 questions in 60 minutes is going to be tough. The last one is quantitative ability. Quantitative ability, the most important section, is as always arithmetic. If you have given CAT, if you have given ZAT, you know that arithmetic is the topic that you need to crack. So this includes time, speed, distance, time and work, profit and loss, interest, averages, ratio and proportion. All of these are super important. They make a big chunk of the quant section. The second most important is algebra. Algebra gets 2 to 3 questions. So I put algebra separately, progressions and series separately, but generally there are, if you combine them, there are 4 questions from these 2 topics combined. So sometimes progressions and series will be 2 questions and algebra will be only 2 questions. Sometimes 3 questions from algebra, 1 question from progressions and series. So these are generally the harder questions, the more difficult questions. Sometimes they require a lot of solving, a lot of algebraic solving and all, and it requires some amount of knowledge of formulae, mugging up a formula. So this is the difficult part of the quant section. The remaining part is much easier. The other difficult part is in geometry. So geometry also you will get 1 to 3 questions. 1 question on geometry will be like triangles and circles, which will be very easy. You can get one-off question from trigonometry, especially trigonometric identities. If you know the trigonometric identities, it will be easy. If not, that question will be something that you cannot attempt. If you generally give all the OMET exams, right, other management entrance exams, CAT does not have trigonometry, so you will not generally be taught trigonometry, but it does come up in other OMET exams like SNAP, like ZAT. So it's important to revise this before you go for your SNAP exam. Okay, number systems, you get 1 to 2 questions, again similar to other OMET exams. This is basically like divisibility rules, HCF, LCM, simple questions from number systems come, and if you are very well versed with them, it's easy to solve. In probability, permutations and combinations come. So a lot more probability and permutations questions come than in CAT. Similar to that as such, they require some basic amount of counting, that how many ways can this be done, what is the probability of picking a card. All of those questions come fairly often, so you should be good in probability in this. This isn't difficult probability. It won't take you like 10 minutes to solve or like 5 minutes to solve also. This will be like basic probability, like probability of picking 2 cards out of a deck of cards. So very simple probability questions. You do a few of them, you will get the hang of it. You can solve them very quickly as such. There is generally, so I've written DI, tables, pie charts and graphs, but last year it was mostly just table based DI. and but we can't say for sure that this year there won't be anything else as such, but generally understand it is simpler data interpretation. Direct data is given, you have to interpret it. In the form of table, you just have to interpret the data given. In the form of pie charts or bar graphs, you have to make the table and then interpret it. So it's not difficult, but it will be a bit time consuming. Set theory, one-off question will come from set theory, from Venn diagrams as such, not harder. So basically here the things that you have to be careful of are this trigonometry part and this algebra and progressions and series part. The rest is very doable. If you're somebody who struggles with probability and combinatorics, this is something that you also have to take part. So these parts are something that you have to do extra in. Everything else is essentially easier than CAT. So if you're preparing for CAT, the remaining portion will be easy to do. This is where you have to put in that extra bit of effort. Okay. So this is the overview of all of the sections. You understand the exam now. You understand what is going to be tested in each section of the exam. So what do we do with this course? How exactly are you supposed to use the course? So if you see your crash course page, you will see a table. Okay. You will see a day-wise schedule, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So what I want you to do is just follow the schedule, stick to the schedule. The reason why we have made it in that way is because while I just showed you, all of these are simple to do. They are not difficult concepts, but taken together, there are a lot of concepts to learn, okay? There is a lot of syllabus to cover. So I want you to actually cover the full syllabus without missing out on anything. So I split up the syllabus day wise so that each day you will have small things to do. Okay, today just do averages, just do ratio and proportion. Each concept video that we will give you will also give you a concept test with it. So what I want you to do is just follow the syllabus. Wherever a video is mentioned, see the video and take the concept test that is there with it. If you follow the daily schedule, you will firstly cover the entire syllabus. You will also have covered all the concept tests. You will be well within the schedule to actually finish syllabus and have the practice ready for your exam as such. So what I want you to do first, remember, please follow the schedule, do the day-wise schedule. Also make sure that you are receiving our emails, because every single morning we fire out the email saying that, okay, your today's course, this is the daily schedule for that you have to follow. And in general, the emails are a better reminder, because then you are reminded every morning that, okay, I have this work to do, okay. So make sure that you're not like sending our emails to spam or something, because then you will be able to see the schedule on a daily basis. The second is concept videos. So there are daily concept videos, and each concept video has a concept test. I want you to take the test seriously. It is the real test of how much you have understood. If you have understood the concept, you will be able to understand and solve the test. If you have not understood the concept, you will struggle with the test. Then you have to go back and see the concept video. The third thing that we have is we have to practice mocks on weekends. So basically the structure is day wise. There is no break for the weekend in this particular structure. But on the weekends, when you have extra time on Saturday and Sunday, you have to take the mocks, snap mocks as such. You will have, with the crash course, you have access to the snap mocks as well. Make sure that you take one mock every weekend, because especially as the exam nears, because essentially you have to be very well practiced by the exam date as such. There will be 10 mocks, so there are plenty of mocks. So you should take the mock and you have to analyze the mock also. Where did I go wrong? What kind of areas am I struggling in? Where am I making good progress? What are the areas which are low scoring areas for me? Perhaps if those areas are low scoring areas for you, you can go and try to practice from the study room in that particular area. If a area is a low scoring area because you have not understood the concept, you can rewatch the concept video. So every weekend you have to actually, in addition to the schedule, you have to do the mock test also. So this is how you use the course, and best of luck for all those who are preparing. I know all of you have the ability to crack SNAP. The only real test is how well you stick, how consistent you are, and I'm sure all of my students will be very, very consistent. So best of luck to everyone, and I hope to see all of you crack SNAP.